Welcome to Module 2, Lesson 8. We are going over zeros of polynomials. I don't want to scare you or anything before this lesson starts, but just as kind of a warning before we head into this lesson is typically the hardest lesson in the entire course. It requires a lot of previous information that is not the easiest previous information. So if you are struggling with solving quadratics specifically, this is going to be a really, really hard lesson for you. And as you go through this lesson, make sure you understand what happened in the previous video before you move on to the next one. So we're going to go over examples 1. Don't go to example 2 unless you know example 1. If you don't understand examples 1 and 2, don't go on to example 3. This lesson really, really builds on each other. And it's going to start off really specifically with example 3. It's going to start off giving you a lot of information and not making you do as much. And then the next one's going to make you do a little bit more on your own. And then you're going to have to do a little bit more on your own till by the end of this lesson, you're doing a problem from start to finish completely on your own without any guidance. So it's really, really important that before you move on to that next video, you 100% know and understand what we did in that previous video before you go on. So we kind of already talked about the preparing for this lesson, but you need to be able to solve quadratics, and we are going to be using all 3 methods. So you need to know how to factor, use the quadratic formula, and the square root method. You also need synthetic division, which was last lesson. And our learning objectives are to use the remainder factor and rational zeros theorem. The meat of the lesson is going to be finding the real and complex zeros of the polynomial functions. So we're going to go through those theorems really, really quickly, but we need to be able to find real and complex zeros of a polynomial function, meaning something bigger than a degree of 2. Right now, we've only been able to find zeros of mostly quadratics. Can you find the zeros when you have an x cubed, an x to the 4th, an x to the 5th, which we won't do that, but we will do plenty of x cubes and then I think 1 x to the 4th. But if you know how to do it for x cubed and x to the 4th, theoretically you can do it for any kind of polynomial. As a reminder, you can pause and rewind as often as you need, and I highly suggest you take advantage of this lesson, and then look at your course calendar to see when this lesson's homework is due.